that's that. But we got some good stuff to talk about. Some stuff that has me concerned in some ways. But we'll get into it here. We'll get into our first topic here. All right. This is the one that actually has me kind of concerned. The first topic here, you guys may have heard. Well, a couple months back, I think we even talked about the first word came out that J.J. Abrams may be involved in making either a Justice League Dark or a Superman movie with Warner Brothers because he signed like an overall Warner Brothers deal. I think at the beginning of the year or towards the end of 2020, one of the two. It was like shortly. Rise of Skywalker was the last movie he did before he like started this overall WB exclusive 5-year deal thing for like hundreds of millions of dollars. So good on you, JJ. I'd taken the deal too for sure. But yeah, we got word that he was going to be doing one of those, and it seems like the Superman project is indeed moving forward with a writer who I'm not personally very familiar with, and I know I'm gonna butcher the name. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I'm going with that. So I'm already apologizing again. I've never heard it audibly said, so just roll with it. But he's attached to be writing a Superman reboot with J.J. Abrams producing it. So no like director or anything has been attached to it or anything like that. There's no plot details. There's nothing. And then this first article that came out, this is where my worry comes through. The first article here from Deadline, when this first dropped, said that we've heard how Henry Cavill is eager to get back into the Cape. That's all I've been wanting since Man of Steel came out. I've been waiting for Man of Steel 2. So, don't know what Warner Brothers have been going on with that. But the other thing is, like, later on, after these articles came out, some new articles came out suggesting that they might be moving forward with a Black Superman story. So that would obviously rule out the Henry Cavill thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it would be Henry Cavill Superman would be like DOA, because they could still potentially do something like with Henry Cavill Superman, like kind of separately from this, because I would assume if they were going to go the Black Superman route that they would do Calvin Ellis. Is that his name? Calvin Ellis, I think.
Calvin Ellis. There's also Val Zod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a couple in the comics that they could draw from if they chose to go that route.
Yeah, which is when I would rather them do that than just make Clark Black for the sake of doing, because there's Black characters already that they could just make those ones. We've already seen Clark Kent and Kal-El hundreds of times. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather see the new one. Like, tell the new story. I think it'd be a lot more compelling. You know what I mean? This is a better take than just, well, just race swap and gender swap, and like, it's if you got, just do what's already there.
Yeah, like you said, if they didn't use one of the established Black Supermen that they have in their universe, then it kind of feels like, at least to me, it kind of feels like you're just doing it just to do it. Like it's like I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a lot of good reason to do it other than just like, hey, look, we made Superman Black. Like, if you want to really delve into like the Black experience and how the immigrant story works from a Black person's perspective in America, then use one of the characters that would represent that.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be my only concern. In the end, I don't really care what they do. I just think it's kind of wasted. Like, because like you said, and like I was saying, like there's already multiple ones that actually exist, and it would it'd be like making James Bond a girl just for no real reason. Instead of there being their own 00 agent that's a girl, it's like, oh, we're just gonna make James Bond a girl. It's like, well, just tell a new story. Like, that's it. Because in the end, Superman, Clark Kent, Kal-El, he's not white. He's an alien. So like, he's not like a Caucasian male by any means. So like, it doesn't really matter in the end what his skin color is. Completely irrelevant information. It's just, if there's just do Calvin Ellis. It just makes more sense to me, and I would rather see that. And then obviously too, because I want Henry to continue on as Clark, obviously. But in the end, I don't know. I hope they go this route. I think it'd be really interesting because again, there were also reports like way back when with Michael B. Jordan potentially like had taken a tried to pitch a black Superman. I don't think it was ever confirmed whether it was going to be Calvin Ellis or Clark or whoever, but Warner Brothers like turned that down. Nothing really came of it. But I mean, now they're
Have you seen some of
potentially
the
doing through it.
Have you seen some of the photoshops of that? I mean, I think he fills out the outfit just pretty well. I think he looked pretty tough in that. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see him come back to the project if that is something they end up pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael B. Jordan's a fantastic actor, so I'd love to see him come and do. I'd love to see him really
Exactly.
do anything. So, but yeah, to see him playing like a Calvin Ellis or a Superman in general, it'd be pretty cool. Nevertheless, I think it would be great. So,
Yeah.
again, I'm not super familiar with the writer's work. There was a couple things that they said he was credited on. Like I think he did some form of like rewrites or touch ups on like Infinity War and Endgame and Black Panther. And then he did some runs in the comics, I think, as well. For Captain America and Black Panther. So he's the writer is definitely experienced in the comic book world for sure. So those are some big credits.
His
So
all of his comic book work has been well received too, and so I'd love to see what he could do with the character of Superman. His I think the book that he's gotten the most acclaim for is Between the World and Me, which is kind of his perspective, his look at race in America and how it affected him growing up. And it's an excellent book that if anybody gets a chance to check out, I would encourage them to look at, because he has a really good way of not coming off as a victim. Like he doesn't treat it from a sense of oh, woe is me, these bad things have happened to me. He treats it as kind of like a source of pride that he has dealt with everything he's dealt with and still ended up where he is. He has a very touching story about the one time that he ever kind of felt like his race put him into a position where he wasn't happy with the way he acted. Somebody had touched his kid or like grabbed his kid and was trying to reprimand his kid, and he kind of lost it on the person, and he realizes that because of his skin color, people didn't look at him as being angry about the situation because it's as a parent and a child touching him, but just as a black man overreacting. And he has a very good way of distilling things down to kind of a way that you can at least understand where he's coming from. You may not be able to, I can't think of the right word I want. You may not be able to
like
fully understand what the
to
experience
relate
is
to it,
like.
yeah.
Exactly. You may not be able, thank you. You may not be able to relate to it completely, but at least he gives you a sense of, here's a situation where like anybody would be upset that their child was being reprimanded by another person. But as a black man, it became something else. It became something more, even though it shouldn't have. So he does a good job of making his experiences relatable, and he does that throughout the book. So I would love to see his take on the Superman mythos, but I'd love it too if they decide to go to make Superman a black character and just see what kind of spin that puts on, because Superman has always been this messianic savior. For a lot of people, that would conflict with the black experience and black people's experience, and especially with regards to the history of the United States. So it would be interesting to see how he'd weave those two together.
Yeah, it would be interesting because, like, again, too, it would have some interesting, like, character beats because, like you said, like, Superman's always dealt with being, like, an outsider as far as, like, he's an alien, but then if you throw on top of that, just the different things that, black people have been through throughout the years, it adds a whole other layer of potential, like, character development, kinda like Magneto being, a Jew during like the Holocaust and all that. It's a whole other level of just human darkness that just can mold, their outlook, and that's what makes Magneto one of the coolest characters ever, is just his backstory. So they could work in a lot of cool stuff with that would just further develop, and it would really set this Superman apart while also making him very relatable to everybody, because everyone can, like, if we may not be able to directly relate to what they would be going through, but we totally understand, like, exactly where they're coming from. Like, we know, like,
Mhm.
so it'd be really cool, be interesting. I'm excited for it, whichever way they go. I hope Henry can still maybe make Man of Steel one day, Man of Steel 2. That's all I'm hoping for.
That's
But
that's what I was going to say. DC seems to be positioning themselves to do these kind of um, either one-off or self-contained movie universes now. The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
mm,
That movie exists in its own universe. It's not tied into the DCEU or a more ongoing narrative universe. There's questions about whether or not Aquaman and Wonder Woman are still, if there even is a connected DCEU anymore. So I still hope. Well, I'd love to see this movie, and I hope that it does get made. I really do hope also that we get a Man of Steel 2 with him at some point, because we've talked about it before. You don't catch that kind of lightning in a bottle with casting of Superman that often. Once a generation, I think Cavill is really, at least for the Clark Kent version of Superman, embodied that role. So we'll see. The other thing to point out too is, like you said, the idea that Coates would be writing a Black Superman movie kind of was thrown out after this initial statement or after this initial news report, and he
mhm.
himself, in the comments about the announcing this agreement to work with Warner Brothers on this and J.J. Abrams' production company, he doesn't say anything about what race Superman is going to be in his movie. He just says he's excited to be working with J.J. Abrams' production company and Warner Brothers. So it could be that he's working on a Clark Kent version of Superman's story that isn't necessarily a Black Superman. That's awesome too. I think he would, he's an excellent writer, and he's, obviously, he's, like you mentioned, he's got the comic credentials. So he could do just as equally well with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just have to wait and see. No way of knowing yet. That's why, like, I wasn't sure. I don't like when it's especially annoying when you have credible sources like Deadline. They release an article that just says, "Hey, a new Superman movie is on the way," and they mention Henry, but then you have Hollywood Reporter saying like something completely different. Like Hollywood Reporter is referencing that it's gonna focus on a black character. It's like normally you can rule one out, but it's like, well, this is just two very reliable sources. So I mean, it could go either way right now. But it was a good thing to note that no one from Warner Brothers or Coates himself or J.J. Abrams, no one directly attached to these projects have came out to clarify what they're doing. So at this point, we will just have to wait and see.
The other part of this that we didn't really talk about a ton was you mentioned, and you kind of, when you were covering it, how it's J.J. Abrams' production company, and this is kind of one of the things that they're working on.
Hmm.
Um, the announcement said that J.J. is listed as a producer on the film,
Hmm.
um, not a director, not obviously not script, and we all know that production credits can kind of just be tossed around out there, a dime a dozen for
True.
some, especially some movies. I mean, Zack Snyder as a Justice League, I think Chris Nolan has a production credit on it, yet I don't know. I mean, well, I know that Chris Nolan had a production credit on the Justice League, the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. And I really doubt that his involvement was much more beyond, hey, can we put your name as a producer? So um, I think obviously if this is coming from his Bad Robot company, he'll probably have a little more involvement with it. But I can't say that I'm terribly disappointed in that. Like, I'm not. I, I think I at this point I prefer if JJ just kind of maybe went back and did some creator-owned stuff instead of genre hopping or franchise hopping. Um, at one point, I would have liked to have seen a Superman, but after the Star Wars movies, I'm kind of okay just being like, yeah, let's see what you do in your own stuff, JJ, and we'll pass on the superhero stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say to that is like I'm one of the few people out there. I know there's a couple of us out there, but I actually liked his Star Trek movies. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah,
Like those were
they
like
were.
now granted, I don't know how much of that was like I mean James Wan did one of them if I'm not mistaken, and then Justin something does a couple Fast and Furious movies, can't remember who, but like he was just I think he directed the first one, but then like the rest of them he was just producer on, and I thought they were all pretty damn good. In all honesty, they weren't like your old Star Trek by any means, but it was definitely a new take on Star, and I thought he did a good job. I liked Force Awakens as well. Like I stand by that is a good movie. Nothing earth-shattering and new, but it is a good movie. Like it's watchable, unlike the other ones. Like like if you wanted to tell me that The Last Jedi is unwatchable, I'm not gonna argue with you. Like I may not 100% agree, but I might. I definitely see where you're coming from, especially with Rise of Skywalker. That movie is both those movies are. I totally see why people will be frustrated with them because I know I am for quite a bit of it. So for sure. So I'd be excited to see what his take on Superman would be. I was really hoping for Henry Cavill and Christopher McQuarrie to make a Superman movie because like he just did Mission Impossible, whichever one it was with him. Was it Fallout? Was that the one that he was in?
Ghost Fallout, yeah.
Was it Fallout? I can't remember. Either way, there was like rumors that like they might be like wanting him to come in and do it, but then Chris McQuarrie came out and said that he would never want to do a superhero movie, and but money talks. So I was just hoping that like they'd be able to back up enough money to him for him to do it.
Is there that big a jump between a Mission Impossible movie and a superhero movie? I mean,
I wouldn't
you're
think
splitting
so.
some hairs there when you're
yeah. But what he said was he didn't like how like the fandom treats people, and he was saying it wasn't really something that he would ever willingly want to be a part
fair
of.
point.
I'm just like, I totally understand, So I mean, we had Mustache Gate, and like the people still make fun of that, and it's like we're a fickle group of people, so I can't blame anybody. Like this is why I don't think Ryan Johnson's gonna go anywhere near Star Wars again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, why would you? Just like it's not even worth it. Maybe ghostwrite them and something, and maybe even ghost direct them. Like, so like, because it's like once you attach his name to a Star Wars thing, you're just gonna have 50+% of people just shitting on him for no reason. They'll write off the movie before they see the movie. It's just, it's just. Fickle group of people, man. It's a fickle group of people. But that's about it. That's all I have for the Superman thing. So, guys, what do you think? Are you excited for Coates here? I'm gonna forego pronouncing the first name again because I don't know how it's pronounced. But what do you think about him and J.J. Abrams coming on to write a Superman reboot of sorts? Do you want Henry Cavill to come back for it? Do you want them to go the Black Superman route with like a Calvin Ellis or the Zod one? I can't even remember the name now. Valzad, that's the one. Are you excited for that? Whatever it is, let us know down in the comment section below.